Welcome to The Explainer. Today we've got a story for you. A story of vengeance that stretched across 2 whole decades and an entire empire.
So what does fuel a 21-year quest for revenge? I mean, think about that. For one man, the answer to that question became his entire reason for living.
Yeah, we're talking about a vow literally forged in blood and bullets. This is the story of Udham Singh, a revolutionary whose life's mission was sparked in one of the absolute darkest moments of the British Empire.
Okay, so before we get to the man himself, we've got to understand the world that made him. And it was a world built on a system of oppression, of extraction, and control.
You know, early Indian thinkers actually had a term for this. They called it the drain of wealth. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It was a colonial policy designed to just systematically transfer wealth out of India and into Britain. It basically turned India into a source for raw materials and a market for British goods, stopping it from developing its own economy. And you can bet that created some serious resentment.
So into this world, a boy named Sher Singh was born. His early life was just tragic. He lost his mother at 3, his father at 7. He and his brother ended up in an orphanage, and that's where he was renamed Udham Singh, which means the upheaval. Kind of prophetic, right? Then his brother died in 1917, leaving him completely alone. He even briefly served in the British Indian Army in Mesopotamia during World War I, but his life was about to take a very, very different path.
All right, so let's set the scene. It's early 1919. Udham Singh is back in his hometown of Amritsar. Now, tensions are incredibly high because the British have just passed these really repressive laws, things like the Rowlatt Act, which basically let them imprison people without a trial. As you can imagine, this sparked huge but peaceful protests all over.
So on April 13th, you have this massive crowd. We're talking over 15,000 men, women, and children gathered in a walled garden called Jallianwala Bagh. Now, for most, it was a celebration. It was Baisakhi, a major religious festival. For others, it was a peaceful protest against some recent arrests. And right there in the middle of it all was a 19-year-old Udham Singh, just helping out, serving water to the crowd. And then, with absolutely no warning, everything changed. Troops led by a Colonel Reginald Dyer march in and block the main exit, trapping everyone inside. And then he gives the order to open fire, not warning shots. They fired directly into that trapped crowd for 10 straight minutes. 1,650 bullets. They only stopped when they were basically out of ammo. The carnage was unbelievable.
The reaction was immediate, and it wasn't just in India. The news spread like wildfire. I mean, it was so bad that even Winston Churchill, a guy who was all about the British Empire, stood up in Parliament and called it an extraordinary event, a monstrous event. That tells you just how shocking this was.
So for Udham Singh, who survived that day, this wasn't some political issue. It was a deep, personal wound that would never, ever heal. For him and for so many others, this single event just destroyed any hope in British justice. And for this one young man, it lit a fuse on a path of revenge that he would walk for his entire life.
So that personal trauma, that deep wound from the massacre, is now going to fuel a global quest. A 21-year vow is about to begin. Just look at this timeline. For the next 21 years, Udham Singh had one single goal: avenging what happened at Jallianwala Bagh. This wasn't a fleeting thought. It was a life's mission that took him all over the world, eventually leading him right to London, the very heart of the empire he was fighting against.
And he wasn't doing this alone. He plugged himself into this whole global network of Indian revolutionaries. He joined the Ghadar Party, which is all about organizing Indians living abroad to overthrow colonial rule. He was also deeply influenced by famous revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh. And later, when he was in England, he linked up with the Indian Workers' Association. He was all in.
Okay, so after all this time, his journey finally brings him to London, and to the man he holds responsible. Now, this wasn't Colonel Dyer, the man who gave the order to fire. No, his target was Sir Michael O'Dwyer. He was the lieutenant governor of Punjab at the time, and he was the one who publicly backed Dyer's actions. To Udham Singh, he was the real power behind the massacre.
So on March 13th, 1940, Michael O'Dwyer is scheduled to speak at a meeting in Caxton Hall, London. And guess who's in the audience? Udham Singh. After 2 long decades, the final act is about to unfold.
It's pretty incredible how it went down. He had a revolver hidden inside a book he'd hollowed out. He gets into the hall, takes a seat. As the meeting ends and O'Dwyer starts moving, Singh just walks up and fires 2 shots. O'Dwyer is killed instantly. And Singh? He doesn't even try to run. He just stands there and lets them arrest him. The vow was complete. And right away, he tells them exactly why he did it. No hesitation. He says, "I did it because I had a grudge against him. He deserved it. I am not scared of death. I am dying for my country." He wanted everyone to know this wasn't just murder. In his eyes, it was an act of retribution for his country.
So now he's in custody, and his mission isn't quite over. His final act wasn't with a gun, but with words and symbols. He was going to make sure his message, "Down with British imperialism," would outlive him.
This is brilliant, really. When they asked for his name in custody, he didn't say Udham Singh, he said Ram Muhammad Singh Azad. Think about that. Ram for Hindus, Muhammad for Muslims, and Singh for Sikhs. He was literally embodying Indian religious unity, a direct challenge to the British divide and rule strategy. And that last name, Azad, it's the word for free. It was a mission statement in a name.
And because of all this, the act itself, his confession, his symbolic name, he wasn't remembered as just some assassin. In India, he's known as Shahid-e-Azam, which means the great martyr. His actions transformed him into a powerful symbol for the independence movement.
And he did not go quietly. In court, he gave this fiery speech against British imperialism. He basically said, "You people go to India and come back as heroes. We come to England and we're sentenced to death." He was calling out the entire hypocritical system. The judge was so freaked out by what he said that he ordered the press not to report on it. It was actually kept secret for decades.
So he was convicted of murder and hanged at Pentonville Prison on July 31, 1940. They might have silenced his voice, but they couldn't silence his story. It became this legend, a powerful symbol of one man standing up against an entire empire.
And this really brings it all home. His final words weren't of remorse, but of pride. "I am proud to die, to have freed my native land." It was a call to action, hoping that thousands more would rise up. And you know what? Just 7 years later, they did. India gained its independence. His 21-year quest might have ended at the gallows, but its impact, its echo, was only just getting started.